All right, we are live once again. Round number 2 of our live coverage this afternoon and into this evening. I'm going to get things started here in just a moment. All right, I think we have all our ducks in a row again. We are starting this live stream at 7:32 for the second time. We're doing some live streaming coverage. We had one round of severe thunderstorms that moved through parts of the area late this afternoon, and now we've seen storms kind of back building some, especially around the state line and into western PA. And so we've got a new severe thunderstorm warning out for Lawrence County. It runs until 8:15. We've got another hail-producing storm that started dropping some small hail around Boardman and Poland, around the Youngstown area as well. And now it's producing some decent-sized hail over in southwestern Lawrence County. This is mostly around and just west of Newcastle. We also probably still have a few hailstones falling out of this little cluster that's near the state line, just north and east of Youngstown, just near the Hubbard area or just south of there, Coatesville. And again, heading over towards the state line as well. We have areas of heavier rain, but probably no hail once you get back towards Canfield and Ellsworth along 224. We also, earlier on, about 10 or 15 minutes ago, a flash flood warning was issued for the Grove City area, Slippery Rock as well. Severe thunderstorm warnings are still out for that area. Also a flash flood warning because these storms have been moving over the same areas several different times now over the last few hours, and so flooding has become more and more of a concern in southeastern Mercer County and northern and northeastern parts of Lawrence County into the rest of central, west central, and western Pennsylvania as well. Look at the size of these severe thunderstorm warnings that are still ongoing from southeastern Mercer, northeastern Lawrence, on through Butler County, PA, and on into kind of the more rugged terrain of west central parts of Pennsylvania. So if you're watching this from Trumbull County, I think you're probably done with severe weather concerns for the evening, north of Interstate 80. In Mercer County, once you're north of Interstate 80, I suspect you're probably done with any severe weather threats this evening. Now, we've seen very little, if anything, down in Columbiana County so far, and you know, we'll keep an eye on the radar here for the rest of the 7 o'clock hour. It's possible that the radar will continue to fill in a little bit back here over the next half an hour to 45 minutes. Low confidence on that at this point, but it's possible that is something that occurs here for the rest of the 7 o'clock hour into the 8 o'clock hour as well. But yeah, we've missed the boat so far in a lot of Columbiana County, including Hanoverton, Lisbon, West Point, Salineville, East Liverpool, etc. But here in the 7 o'clock hour, we have had some decent thunderstorms that have popped up in Mahoning County around Youngstown and down into the 224 corridor from Boardman to Poland, down towards New Middletown as well. And some of those hail-producing storms are now pushing into Lawrence County like this. So heads up around the Newcastle area. Under the gun, once again, overall the most frequent bouts of tough weather over the last 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours, I would say, have been in western PA, Mercer down to Lawrence. Now, we had some hail-producing storms in Trumbull, but the storms have not kept back building back into Trumbull County. They've been repeating themselves pretty frequently now around and south of Interstate 80 in western PA, and again, a little bit of this action in Mahoning County as well. So the radar has been kind of, back building. I'll show you what I mean by that. Let's do an hour loop. You'll notice how the back or western edge of that main line of storms that went through, along that back edge, we've seen new storms cropping up over the last hour, and it's possible that this process will continue for a little while longer across parts of our viewing area. Again, it's a low confidence thing. I'll tell you, our high resolution modeling that has not been doing a great job all day is not doing a great job right now with this activity either. So we're flying a little bit blind as far as weather modeling. Not something we like to do as meteorologists. We like to have as many tools at our disposal as possible, and the weather modeling hasn't been a real big help today. The forecast itself has been pretty good. We've communicated the threats, the timing, and everything pretty well. Things have panned out as we expected, but the computer modeling that we look at and obsess over a lot when we're predicting high impact events, it hasn't been doing a great job with the placement and the timing of a lot of this activity. So just a little inside baseball for you in the weather prediction world there. We rely a lot on this stuff, and when it lets us down, it's not great. All right, so again, here at 7:36, we have some heavy thunderstorms impacting much of Lawrence County, just over the state line into Pennsylvania. We still have some pockets of heavy rain, but not a lot of thunder and lightning left in Mahoning County. And a little activity still trying to build back to the west. We'll see if this keeps growing Some of this activity back towards Ellsworth and Berlin and up towards Newton Falls. Again, low confidence at this point, but it's possible that this process of new activity just before sunset does continue for a while longer. I'm expecting after sunset this evening to see a downshift in our activity as our front not only pushes through, but we lose the heating of the day, the most unstable part of the day. And so I would expect things to wind down fairly quickly after sunset, but it'll be a little bit interesting for the next half an hour to 45 minutes how things go. We do have quite a few power outages as a result of what happened earlier on. And by the way, at the Youngstown Warren Airport, we did have a wind gust of 68 miles per hour earlier on this afternoon. This precisely was at 5:35 this evening. So really meant some business, those storms. Now, we have had several thousand without power in Trumbull County as a result of those same wind gusts. But the overall wind impacts have taken a little bit of a backseat in a lot of places to the hail. Not everywhere, but a lot of places. The hail has been actually the primary severe weather hazard over the last couple of hours. And if you watched my live streaming coverage earlier on, I talked about how big hailstones of 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches, 2 inches, up to hen egg size. That's not something that's very common in our part of Ohio and into western Pennsylvania. It's a little more common in western Ohio and certainly out into the Corn Belt and the Plain States, where they have episodes of large hail with a fair amount of frequency in the spring and summer seasons. And we just oftentimes don't have the right recipe for those kinds of hail events around here. We get a lot of the pea-sized stuff, of course, but anything that's big enough to cause damage, and when I start getting pictures of hailstones juxtaposed with a ruler, it shows 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches. We get that a couple of times a year, maybe, around our area. Taking a look at the storm reports relayed by the National Weather Service. These are just a sampling of where the highest concentration of problems have been today. Trumbull County, Mercer County, Lawrence County, a little bit of hail in the Youngstown and 224 corridor, but generally the hailstones in through here have been smaller than what happened earlier on in a lot of these areas. And again, you don't see a lot of wind icons on here. While we did have a gust to 68 at the airport, and we do have power outages, especially in Trumbull County, the overall biggest impacts have been from the hail and not necessarily the wind in most places. In fact, I'll look up the latest power outage numbers here. So while I pop the radar back up, I'll take a look at the latest numbers here on First Energy's site. 6,216 without power in Trumbull, 6,216, so a lot without power. Now we have only 9 reported outages in Mahoning County and nothing in Columbiana. Over into western PA, let's see if there are any available numbers in Mercer and Lawrence. Let's see here. Mercer, 335. So the power outage problems there are fairly minimal. But yeah, several thousand still without power in Trumbull County here as of 7:40. So again, severe thunderstorm warning is out for Lawrence County until 8:15. We still have some hailstones falling out of these storms around New Wilmington, heading down towards Newcastle as well. And it's still just raining cats and dogs, and with hailstones as well over towards Slippery Rock and into the West Sunbury area, West Liberty. And flash flood warnings are out for many of those same areas because we've had not only hail, but we've had quite a bit of rain over the last couple of hours. Let's bring up the radar estimated precipitation totals. Now, sometimes when I show these when we've had hail events, the numbers can be a little bit off because the radar algorithm mistakes hailstones for heavy rain. But some of this is probably fairly legit in the flash flood warning area here. A couple of inches worth of rain, definitely a possibility, even if there's some contamination here because of the hailstones. So flash flood warning runs until 9:45 for the Grove City and Slippery Rock areas, southeastern Mercer, northeastern Lawrence, and over into parts of Butler County in Pennsylvania. The radar at this time is as quiet as it's been all day. It's been just ho-hum in Columbiana County. Now the northeastern part of the county is getting grazed a little bit, but you're saying what storms in Salineville and Hanoverton and Lisbon and East Liverpool and much of the county, in fact. And we'll see if anything continues to pop, but right now we're not seeing anything really growing too tall out here that would slide down in this direction. We'll keep an eye on it. A lot of this activity continues to kind of miss Columbiana off to the north and to the east. Yeah, I think there's still some pretty sizable hailstones in the Newcastle area and just north of there right now towards New Wilmington, kind of in this zone through here around Neshannock and Hickory. Big hailstones probably right through here. We're probably looking at least an inch in diameter, if not an inch and a quarter, inch and a half in diameter hailstones. So heads up again around Wilmington and heading over towards Hickory, and maybe eventually again over towards Slippery Rock, and that's kind of been the prime zone for a lot of these storms to track the northern tier of Lawrence County and extreme southern parts of Mercer County. We'll take a look at kind of take a slice to go, if you will, here. And this is another big, tall hailstorm. When you see reflectivity values, those brighter colors getting up that high in a storm, those are big, tall thunderheads that can easily produce hailstones when you also have some drier air up aloft, well above our heads. That can aid in the formation of big hailstones. But these high reflectivity values are well above the freezing level. You hit a certain level up there and temperatures are below freezing, and that becomes the hail-producing zone. And when you get big reflectivity values above that freezing line, you can get some big-time hailstones certainly falling, and eventually gravity takes over. They can't be suspended by the updraft any longer, and then they fall to the ground, and that's exactly what we're seeing. And again, I'll repeat this for those who did not join our coverage earlier, and maybe you're new to some of our streaming coverage. The lightning display on our radar here, we differentiate graphically between negative voltage strikes and strikes that have a positive voltage. Those are designated by the plus signs. The positive voltage strikes, while all lightning is dangerous, the lightning that has positive voltage tends to hit things on the ground more often. It also tends to have a higher voltage, so we like to show that. And when we see a plethora of positive voltage strikes, that usually means a few things. It means a tall, powerful storm, and when you see a lot of those plus signs clustered, a lot of times that's indicative of a storm that's producing hail, and we've seen a couple of those situations today. Now, I will say that we don't see as much positive voltage lightning out there as we did with our initial round that happened late this afternoon and early this evening. Renee over in Newcastle showing a picture of some hailstones on Twitter, or X. Thank you to Renee for that. Lots and lots of pictures and notifications. I haven't gotten a chance to pour through just about everything, but thanks to everyone who's been sending us pictures and videos, especially of the hail. We've seen some pretty dramatic pictures of hail. One was in Lawrence County from earlier. I think it was about 2 inches in diameter. That was from that initial round of thunderstorms late this afternoon. So the hail has been a big, big deal. The rain has been a big deal in parts of western PA as well. That's why there's a flash flood warning out for southeastern Mercer, northeastern Lawrence, and over into the northern tier of Butler County, Pennsylvania as well. That's been the spot where these storms have wanted to train. It's like trains lining up along a track. Just too much rain over there. All right, so we're starting to get some growth in some of this activity upstream, close to the Portage Mahoning line and out towards Alliance, Sebring, around the Salem area, Berlin. There's no thunder and lightning currently, but we're starting to see the reflectivity values perk up a little bit there, so it'll be interesting to see here if we continue to see some growth on the back edge of our storms, or if this is as good as it's going to get. It's almost sunset. Sunset's in about 18 minutes, and as our front slips through and it becomes dark, these storms will have a harder time getting up on their feet. It was pretty easy for these storms to get up on their feet when you had temperatures around 80 this afternoon and plenty of wind shear aloft to really help those storms along. Lots of comments on YouTube about the hail from these storms, so appreciate everyone for chiming in there. Thanks to everyone who's watching me on Facebook as well, and commenting in the comment section of this video. And if you watched my coverage earlier, we did maybe 45 minutes of streaming coverage before our 6 o'clock newscast this evening. We broke for the newscast. We did the newscast, and then I didn't have to hop on and start a live stream again until here in the 7 o'clock hour, when we had a couple of new warnings and a couple of storms that have popped up kind of on the back edge of our main cluster that occurred earlier on. So here's the radar loop. Again, Lawrence County remains kind of the hot spot, so we continue to see some activity trying to keep on forming over Mahoning County. We'll see what happens with that. Down here, we've been high and dry in Columbiana County. Maybe it stays that way, or maybe some of this stuff finally will start to drift down. All that's kind of still an open question over the next half an hour to 45 minutes. And again, I think as we head deeper into the evening, our chances will continue to decrease that we'll have anything too noteworthy out there in terms of severe weather. That warning in Lawrence County runs for almost another half an hour until 8:15, with hail being the primary threat. I don't see much of a strong wind threat with that. There's some puffs of wind, no doubt, but the hail continues to be more of a concern. And we've seen a little bit of an uptick in the hail near the state line just east of Lowellville. So let's go have a look at that. A little bit of an uptick right along 224 in some of the hail. Bessemer kind of in the same boat. So there's some hailstones in this activity right through here along 551, 630 becomes PA 317. Some hailstones in through there. And again, we're still seeing a little bit of hail. It's probably not much more than peas at this point, mostly peas, up towards Wilmington and near the Mercer line up here along 208. You notice there's not as much lightning as earlier, which means there's been a little bit of a downtick in the intensity of this storm. So while it's still trying to spit out a little bit of hail, it's not the bigger stuff probably that we had earlier on. So again, that warning runs until 8:15. This is the activity I'm keeping an eye on, and we are starting to see a little bit of lightning out here north of Salem. So this tower continues to grow a little bit out here. Will it grow tall enough to be much of a concern? That remains to be seen, but we are starting to see this tower go up to 30,000, 40,000 feet. By the way, nice rainbow weather this evening in some parts of the area with the raindrops, and we're coming up on sunset. Maybe there'll be some rainbows out there this evening. Keep an eye out for that. And again, that's going to be what I'm going to be watching here as we head towards the top of the hour. Will we continue to see this stuff grow and become an issue, or is it only going to get so tall and run out of pep a little bit because it's starting to become a more unfavorable time of the day? If you're watching from north of Interstate 80 in most of Trumbull County and most of Mercer County, I think you're out of the woods for the rest of the evening. So in a place like Warren and Champion and Cortland and Vienna and Greenville, Fredonia, Stoneboro, Mercer, Jackson Center, all those places, I think you're probably in the clear for the evening. It's south of Interstate 80 that we'll continue perhaps to see some stuff popping up, and certainly the severe weather that we're experiencing down in Lawrence County right now is not likely to return to areas north of Interstate 80. Thanks to Taylor on Facebook for sharing a picture of a pretty dramatic lowering earlier on around Camel. Yeah, just like earlier on today, the risk of a tornado this afternoon and into this evening has been on the lower end. We can't rule it out completely because there's quite a bit of wind shear above our heads. But the dew points, while they came up quite a bit today, are not through the roof. We're lacking a little bit of low-level moisture. What we call the level of free convection, the base of the clouds, in other words, is pretty high. We want the base of the clouds to be lower for a higher tornado threat. The lifting condensation level, LCL, is something else we talk about when we are trying to ascertain the ability for low-level rotation to be much of an issue. There's been a couple of pictures of some lowering of the clouds and maybe a little bit of, kind of an intimidating cloud structure, but not much of a threat for it to lower all the way to the ground late this afternoon and this evening. These storms have been mostly all about the hail and occasionally the wind, but this is one of the higher-end hail events that we've seen across our area in the last couple of years. So again, a little bit of lightning and a rising tower here along Route 14 near the Columbiana-Mahoning line, Route 45 as well. This is around Goshen Center Elementary. Also getting a little bit of a tower, a little bit of a grower up here near Craig Beach and Lake Milton along 76 and 534, just east of 225 in Mahoning County. We're also getting a decent downpour near the 80, 76, 11 interchange around Austintown and heading up towards the county line. And down otherwise in Mahoning County, we are getting a downpour, but probably no hail at this time. along 680 around the Poland area, and Struthers and the Boardman area as well. Hopping back over to Lawrence County, no doubt we're still seeing some decent-sized hailstones coming in once again to the Newcastle area. We've been pummeled by storms in this corridor for several hours now. So North Beaver to Newcastle, we're probably seeing at least an inch in diameter hailstones coming through here. Yeah, Newcastle's getting pummeled pretty badly right now. And again, the wind threat is marginal. There's probably a puff of wind with this, but a damaging wind gust, unlikely. It's all about these big hailstones. We're probably seeing something around golf ball size, if not larger, around the Newcastle area right now. It's still a little bit of hail north of there, near the Mercer line, closer to Hickory and points just to the north and east, once again over towards the Slippery Rock area. And again, this has been the zone all day that's been most problematic. We might even get a new flash flood warning issued by the Pittsburgh Weather Service here before too much longer. In other parts of Lawrence County, the current flash flood warning is just for the northeastern part of the county and into southeastern Mercer. Wouldn't be surprised if we had to pull the trigger on a new flash flood warning for much of the rest of Lawrence here before too much longer. All right, so the little cell that's around Salem right now and just coming into the Salem area, we're going to watch as this might, continue tracking south and east and impact some areas that have missed out on the storms so far today. This is nothing severe, but it is a growing cell, and it can impact parts of the Columbiana area and heading down Route 11 towards Lisbon eventually. Middleton, New Waterford, places like that, Latonia here in the near term. It's a growing cell for sure. And this looks like a little bit of a grower too, north of there, coming into the Ellsworth area, coming out of Craig Beach and Lake Milton. This is crossing Route 45 right now. Newcastle getting pummeled, though. This is the worst spot in the area right now, right in the heart of Newcastle. I mean, gargantuan hail through here, by the standards of our area, for sure. We're talking hailstones coming through here right now, perhaps up to 2 inches in diameter. And again, that's pretty impressive for eastern Ohio and western PA. Not something we see more than maybe once or twice a year, maybe 3 times at most in a typical year. And when we look back over the day so far, the hail tracks, we'll go back a few hours on this. Let's go back 5 hours. And you'll see that the hail forming storms really got up on their feet fast, moved through Trumbull, Mercer counties, Lawrence County. We've had a little bit of hail down into Mahoning County with the second round earlier this evening. And now it's mostly in Lawrence County and near the state line that we're still having problems with the hail. So that warning, that severe thunderstorm warning, runs until 8:15, and it really includes all of Lawrence County and extreme southern parts of Mercer as well. But I'll tell you, in Mercer, with the exception of areas around Grove City, we're just about in the clear in southern Mercer. But Grove City, in the extreme southeastern part of Mercer, near the intersection of Route 79 and 80, and especially just south of there, we're still getting grazed pretty good over there. Boy, this is a real mess on the radar. There's a lot to keep track of here. We are getting a little bit of activity still upstream, trying to form in the extreme northeastern part of Mercer. This is up near the Mercer-Crawford line along 322. That's an exception, though. Most of that area is in the clear for the rest of the evening. Some really cool cloud pictures being sent in over Facebook, especially right now, because yeah, it's sunset time and we've got these big storm clouds and we've got some clearing of the clouds as well, and it allows us to see some of these structures. They are pretty impressive, that is for sure. It's possible we're seeing a little bit of pea-sized hail right now with this area just north of 224. Maybe a few hailstones around Ellsworth right now. This is Route 45. Here's 224, Palmyra Road. There might be some hailstones. They're small, but it's possible. Probably seeing a little bit of hail, maybe some peas over towards Hubbard right now as well, with this little uptick in activity just northeast of downtown Youngstown and heading over towards Hubbard along 62. Might be some small hailstones out of that. But I emphasize small, that's nothing severe. The severe hail is definitely over here in Lawrence County. I think we're seeing at least golf balls over here. This has been rolling through Newcastle and continues heading over towards Route 19. I'm going to step off camera for just a second here while I post onto social media about the hail over in Lawrence. All right, back on camera here. I have to take care of a little business on social media. Again, in Mahoning County, a couple of clusters here where we might be seeing some very small hailstones, and a couple of these towers have grown in the last 15 minutes or so. One, Latonia, Columbiana, just east of Salem right now. Another up here, closer to Ellsworth, Canfield, Austintown. And there's another core that's been trying to produce a little bit of hail now near the Hubbard area in northeastern Mahoning, southeastern parts of Trumbull as well. Nothing real concerning with any of that activity as far as large hail, damaging winds, or anything like that. It's all sub-severe, but keeping an eye on the trends here. The trends have been for stuff to keep on back building a little bit, and so it's not impossible that we're going to continue to see new activity trying to form in the near term. It's going to have a harder time than earlier on. The atmosphere has been worked over a little bit, and now sunsets in a minute or two, and our front continues to make some southward progress, and so all in all, these storms are going to have a harder time growing as easily as earlier on this afternoon. The big hailstones that moved through Newcastle here a little while ago are now making their way towards Route 19, so these hail cores will continue progressing over into Butler County, PA. Weather Service is putting out a special weather statement for Mahoning County to account for the small hail. And maybe some gusty breezes as well. Perhaps penny-size hail. So it's not a severe thunderstorm warning, but they put out a statement indicating that all this stuff is sub-severe but bears watching around Mahoning County and extreme northern Columbiana County right now. Some small hail and some briefly gusty winds, all a possibility. Let's take a look outside here at sunset. This is in Boardman, where it's warm. It's in the mid-70s. It got up to 80 in a lot of places today. The sun is setting as we speak, and we're looking west here towards Canfield along Route 224. Our other active camera right now is up in Trumbull County and Niles, and we are in the clear, I think, up here as far as any severe weather for the rest of the evening. Once you get north of Interstate 80, I think you're in the clear for severe for the rest of the evening. A reminder, in case you weren't watching this, kind of explainer video earlier on, hail size. A lot of times around here we see peas and pennies and up to nickels maybe. But severe hail starts at 1 inch in diameter, and today we've seen evidence of ping pong size, golf ball size, even a couple of spots where hen egg size, 2 inches in diameter. That's kind of hail that they see all the time in Oklahoma and Texas and places like that. Not so much downwind of the Great Lakes into eastern Ohio and western PA. Yeah, I think we are seeing some up to pennies falling now between Canfield and Austintown along 46. Yeah, I think we're seeing some pennies probably falling out of this. Tippecanoe Road, Raccoon Road, places like that, and of course Route 11 runs up through here along with 46. Sub-severe hail, but we'll keep an eye on the growth potential of that. Another area where we're probably seeing still a little bit of hail is near the state line over here. This is the Hubbard area, and coming into southwestern Mercer County, south of Interstate 80. Sub-severe, but there's probably a little bit of hail trying to fall out of that kind of cell. Flood warning, flash flood warning, still out and will be out for a little while longer, at least another hour and a half for the northeastern part of Lawrence County, southeastern Mercer County. That's where storms have been training. Again, I wouldn't be surprised, as I mentioned a little while ago, if we got a new flood warning, flash flood warning, a little farther south than that, where storms continue to be problematic. All right, so again, heads up in Mahoning County, we have some growing storms that are sub-severe, but they are growing and trying to produce some hail. That is for sure. Let's stop the loop and show you this. Occasional lightning and thunder and a little hail coming into the Canfield area, Austintown, Youngstown, into the Boardman area as well. And the downpours and maybe a little bit of hail extend off to the west of Canfield, closer to Ellsworth, and along the Ohio Turnpike as well. Near the state line, a little hail here coming into northwestern Lawrence, southwestern Mercer, and again right along the state line. The big hailstones that have prompted the warning in Lawrence County are now exiting, or just about to exit, eastern Lawrence County and head into Butler County. There's probably still at least some golf balls coming out of this, coming across Route 19 right now. So we're going to get a new warning that runs until 8:45. Out in western PA. So that's the new polygon right there. It covers southeastern Lawrence, a lot of Butler, extreme southeastern parts of Mercer. Barely grazes Mercer, close to Slippery Rock. Yeah, close-in view, kind of a street-level view of some of the heavy rain, probably some hailstones trying to be embedded in this. In Mahoning County, we're looking pretty close in here, southwest of downtown Youngstown, closer to Boardman and Canfield. To get your bearings, here's Route 224 down here. This is Tippecanoe Road right here. Mill Creek Park in through here. And yeah, it's raining cats and dogs, just what we don't want to see, right? Seems like there's no end to the rain in this kind of a pattern, but the upcoming pattern will be less wet. We're going to have a couple of chances for rain in the coming days, specifically I think Wednesday into Wednesday night, and then maybe a little more at the end of the week, but I want to emphasize a little bit compared to what we've had over the last couple of weeks. We're not going to string together probably a week straight of dry weather, which is actually what we need, but we're not going to have as frequent of severe weather or severe rain episodes like we have had to close March and open the month of April. And again, getting a lot of pictures here sent in to me on social media of hailstones. Appreciate that, everyone. The sun is set now as of 8:08, and nice sunset, no doubt, where it's not storming right now because you have the storm clouds and you have the sunset, and that always makes for an interesting scene. It's a scene we see a lot in the spring and summertime when our sunsets get pretty late in the day, and storms tend to diminish in intensity late in the day. Now, there's a little bit of an exception. These storms are perking up a little bit right around sunset. Now, are they going to get as severe as earlier? I doubt it. But we have seen things, definitely perking up over the last 15 or 20 minutes in Mahoning County and near the Columbiana-Mahoning line as well. Not seeing any evidence really of any strong winds necessarily with this activity. Some puffs of wind, no doubt. But some small hailstones are definitely falling out of this. Around Canfield and Austintown right now. Pittsburgh relaying a spotted report of 2-inch in diameter hail, New Wilmington, earlier on. I believe that. Also 1.25-inch hail near the same place, New Wilmington, in northern Lawrence County. That was earlier on. So they're relaying some of these storm reports that have been relayed to them. This is our active cluster of warnings encompassing a lot of Lawrence County, extreme southeastern Mercer, and over into Butler County as well. That new warning that was just issued, which covers areas south and east of Newcastle, runs until 8:45. The original warning, which covered the Newcastle area and heading up towards New Wilmington, is set to expire in about 5 minutes at 8:15. Some small hailstones coming across 224 now from Boardman over to Poland. Show you our Boardman camera here. Still a little bit of light in the sky, of course. We're only about 7 minutes past sunset. We're looking west here towards Canfield. And, definitely some flashes of lightning through here and some wet roadways. And, yeah, in this general vicinity, could you see some small hail? That is, a distinct possibility here over the next 15 minutes or so. All of that is sub-severe, but a puff of wind and perhaps up to penny-size hail, still a possibility from Canfield right across 224 to Boardman to Poland, south side of Youngstown as well. This is where it's been quite a bit worse, over into Lawrence County, poor Lawrence County and southern Mercer County, and over into Beaver County, PA. That's been kind of ground zero for a lot of this really big hail and strong winds and heavy rain all afternoon and into this evening. That's been where we've seen things kind of just repeating over and over again. And I'll tell you, this activity that's been forming on the backside of this out into Mahoning County, this is probably still going to track through parts of Lawrence County as we head into the bottom of the hour here. We don't want another drop of rain, but it looks like we are going to see some more around the Newcastle area. And if you're watching from north of Interstate 80, I think we're in the clear for severe weather tonight in a lot of Trumbull County and a lot of Mercer County as well. Now, the northern part of Mercer County is getting grazed a little bit by this storm way up here, but it's diminishing. It's not a big deal. So, yeah, I'm going to give you the all clear basically north of Interstate 80 at this point in both Mercer and Trumbull counties. South of Interstate 80, we can't give you the all clear just yet, especially in western PA. But even in Mahoning and Columbiana counties, we're going to babysit for a little while longer some of this activity that has grown on the back edge of our main clusters. Weather Service in Pittsburgh has been noting in our internal chat that while the hail threat is probably going to decrease some here, now that we're past sunset, the strong wind threat may be elevated for a little while longer. It's something we're going to have to babysit for a while longer. But the ingredients for the big hailstones that we've been seeing are probably going to start to really diminishing fairly rapidly here now that we're past sunset. Notice, though, we're still seeing some activity trying to go out towards I-77, back towards Canton. So we're not out of the woods just yet. You know, it's still possible that some of this stuff is going to keep on growing. As I've been talking about, it's going to have a harder time, I think, than the very easy time the activity had in terms of growth earlier on today. But we're not quite out of the woods just yet. A cold front is off to our north, still is yet to pass through. This front, once it passes through, will clear things out. And again, we're going to get a break from the rain for a couple of days at the start of the work week. Picture of hail from about 10 minutes ago from Katie in the Austintown Cornersburg area. From the looks of that picture, that's quarter size or larger. Maybe not up to golf ball, but between quarter and golf ball probably from earlier on. We're covering you live on this Sunday evening. We've done 2 live streams today. One to cover severe weather late this afternoon in the 4 and especially the 5 o'clock hour. Then we had a little bit of a respite, and now we've seen the second round that has blossomed here as we've gotten closer to sunset. And speaking of blossoming, a new warning was just issued for eastern Mahoning County, severe thunderstorm warning. So let's take a look at that. This warning covers the 224 corridor from just east of Canfield over towards Boardman, over towards Poland, and over towards the state line. This runs until 8:45, and this is because of hail. To my eye, the hail is mostly sub-severe, mostly under an inch, but I just got some pictorial evidence from maybe 10 minutes ago, closer to Austintown, of some maybe 1 inch plus in diameter hailstones. The radar algorithm says it's mostly under that, but you go by the pictures, and we have seen some decent sized hailstones with this now warned section. This warning runs until 8:45. This warning does include basically areas just south of downtown Youngstown, so from downtown Youngstown on south towards 224, and then heading down towards New Middletown along 170. It encompasses all of the 224 corridor, Mill Creek Park area, and all the way over to the state line as well. It ends at the state line because the Cleveland National Weather Service covers Mahoning County but not Lawrence County, so we'll see if the Pittsburgh office downstream has to issue a new warning for Lawrence County as this activity continues coming east along Route 224. So again, that warning runs for half an hour until 8:45. Our other active warning also until 8:45 for southeastern Lawrence County and heading over towards Beaver County, PA. Now, upstream, still keeping an eye on this activity. All of this is barely anything, but there are signs that these towers are trying to still grow even though we're past sunset, and that will bear watching here in the 8 o'clock hour. It's been interesting watching the lightning situation. I've talked frequently about the amount of lightning and the difference between positive voltage strikes and negative voltage strikes when it comes to the way our radar kind of displays them. And we've seen a downtick in the number of positive voltage strikes as we've gotten into the post-sunset period, which indicates that the storms overall just aren't getting as tall as they were earlier on, and that's to be expected at this time of the day. But the positive voltage strikes indicated by the plus signs on our radar display, that's a question I get a lot when covering severe weather. So if you're watching from Mahoning County, the severe thunderstorm warning does not include Ellsworth and Austintown, but it does include areas around the Canfield-Boardman area and points to the east closer to Poland, and where you see some of these deeper colors, and especially once you get into the pinks and purples, that's probably where there's still some hailstones trying to form. And the last couple of scans of the radar show that around Louisville, that might be a spot where we are seeing a distinct uptick in the hail, and that's why, speaking of which, the Weather Service office in Pittsburgh, as I speculated about a moment ago, has issued a new warning for Lawrence County because of the activity that is about to enter the county that's in Mahoning County right now. That new warning runs until 9 p.m. So everyone in Lawrence County, you're back under a severe thunderstorm warning. The previous warning runs until 8:45 for just the southeastern part of the county, where the severe weather threat is waning. But the new warning runs until 9 for just about the entire county because of the storm that's along 224 in Mahoning County right now, getting set to come eastward. These storms are just the little engines that could. This is where we're getting some decent-sized hailstones right now, right around the state line. So the Louisville area, just east of Poland, yeah, right here. See that white just popped up right along the state line? That's where we're getting some pretty big hail right now. This could be up to at least quarter size, if not larger. Just a little bit of a slice showing how tall that storm is right along the state line right now. We're getting tops up here to 40 to 50,000 feet. That's way above where the airplanes reach their cruising altitude, which is usually 30 to 35,000 feet. And when you see this spike in brighter colors getting up 20 to 30,000 feet or so, up above the freezing level, that's usually a really good sign, a telltale sign, if you will, of some pretty big hailstones. So heads up once again around the Newcastle area, Neshannock. It's coming for you again. We just got done with big hailstones, and this cluster of higher reflectivity values with the hail embedded in this storm is coming right back across central parts of Lawrence County. And I've speculated a couple of times that, not going to be surprised if we need a new flash flood warning for Lawrence County as well, because the storms just keep on training over the same area. Let's look at our most recent estimate as far as rainfall totals. This is where our flash flood warning is. It's over towards Slippery Rock and Grove City. The rainfall totals west of there, these are starting to get pretty impressive out towards New Wilmington and in the Newcastle area as well. Maybe up to a couple of inches. So might need a new flash flood warning for those locations. Columbiana County, you've missed the boat pretty much so far. We've gotten grazed a couple of times in the northern part of the county, East Palestine, Columbiana, Salem area, but once you get far enough south in Columbiana, we're saying storms. What storms? Still, don't want to close the book though, because we're still seeing some cells trying to get up on their feet back here, back towards Stark County in the Canton area. If these continue to kind of get up on their feet, they'll bring a somewhat better chance of maybe finally getting in on some of this action south of Route 224 and closer to Route 30 in Ohio. That remains to be seen. Lots of comments about the hail in Mahoning County. Some pea-size in Austintown earlier on. People pretty impressed with, these storms. We've had a couple of, enhanced risk, level 3 risks on our 1 to 5 scale in the last couple of weeks, and both of them did not really materialize into much until today. Today's has not been a bust. The last two have been, but today's has gone pretty much according to plan. We had a heightened chance of big hail producing storms today, and that's indeed come to fruition in some parts of our area, especially Mahoning County, Trumbull County, Mercer County, Lawrence County, Columbiana not so much just yet, but still watching some pretty decent hailstones now coming across the state line into Lawrence County, still getting probably some hailstones around the Lowellville area, down towards New Middletown, and again crossing the state line and coming right back towards Newcastle here momentarily. These storms are moving pretty quickly, but they're moving over areas that have had a lot of storms so far today, which isn't great news, that is for sure. But generally speaking, their forward motion is a decent enough clip that we're not too concerned about widespread flooding, especially in our Ohio counties. Again, I'm still concerned about some flooding issues this evening in Lawrence County in particular. So the hailstones are coming east towards Newcastle once again, and I'm still seeing evidence that they're pretty decent size, at least a quarter size, up to an inch in diameter or larger. The wind component of this continues to be very sketchy. I mean, sure, some puffs of wind, no doubt, here and there, but you don't see a lot of evidence on the radar display here of bright greens or bright reds, depending on the location. And so there's not a lot of radar evidence of widespread strong winds. Localized, gusty winds, absolutely. And again, earlier on today, during the 5 o'clock hour, we had a 68 mile per hour gust recorded at the Youngstown Warren Airport in Vienna, which is in Trumbull County, north of Youngstown. And we have had a lot of power outages in Trumbull County. In fact, let me real quickly, while I'm on the subject, look at the latest numbers for the power outages up in Trumbull. And we're still north of 6,000 without power in Trumbull County. Basically nothing else, no other power outages in our area, and anywhere in Ohio, really. It's just Trumbull County that has the big power outage numbers at this hour. There are scattered power outages in central Pennsylvania, but western PA is doing okay. Really just a handful here and there, 114 in Mercer, the entire county. step off screen for a moment here and post again to our social media about more hail in Lawrence. And it's not just the Newcastle area. I think we're still getting some decent-sized hail in extreme eastern parts of Mahoning County. We see these pinks and purples and whites around the New Middletown area, heading over towards Bessemer over in PA, and again up towards Lowellville and closer to 224. You know, I think there's right here, right along the state line, there's still some hail falling in those areas. This is east of Ohio 170. Our warning for extreme eastern Mahoning County runs until 8:45. The warning has been discontinued in the Boardman area, the Canfield area as well. Going to get a new, looks like a new flash flood warning for some of the areas I was talking about earlier. I mentioned how it was possible we were going to see a new flash flood warning. And let's actually make this a little easier to see. Here's our new flash flood warning, which is flashing appropriately enough. This includes kind of the I-80 corridor in Mercer and south towards Newcastle. The flash flood warning remains in effect for northeastern Lawrence and southeastern Mercer, but this new one, which is flashing, includes much of the Newcastle area and points to the north as well. So the Weather Service in Pittsburgh going along with what I was speculating about earlier on with the need for a new flash flood warning. It's been an ugly, ugly evening around Newcastle. Put a loop on our radar here and show you we got a little while longer before we're out of the woods. I mean, it's going to storm like crazy here for the rest of, you know, the bottom of the hour here for at least another 10 or 15 minutes around the Newcastle area and back towards the Ohio state line and over towards West Liberty and Slippery Rock. It's still going crazy over there as well. Back in our Ohio counties, we're about to give you the all clear in eastern Mahoning, but not quite just yet because there's still a little hail still trying to fall right along the state line, but give it another 5 minutes and we'll be pretty much in the clear in the warned area in eastern Mahoning County. Upstream, we're still watching things trying to get going. They're trying. Nothing too significant just yet, but this is along Route 30, closer to Canton, and Route 62 as well. Seeing a few towers trying to get going, and we'll continue to kind of babysit that for the rest of the 8 o'clock hour. Going down to the kind of the street level here, you know, we're going to see flooding problems in a lot of neighborhoods and more hail around Route 422, around 224, and just about the entire, you know, greater Newcastle area. Once you head north of Newcastle on 18, closer to Neshannock, it gets a little bit better, certainly up towards the Mercer County line. But heading east over towards Slippery Rock, it gets worse again. And this whole zone, the train tracks continue to kind of line up for a little while longer. And so that's why I am concerned about flooding issues in that vicinity. Another minute or two, and we'll give you the all clear in extreme eastern Mahoning County. The last of the heavy storm has now pretty much crossed over into Lawrence County. All right, so yeah, we're going to give you the all clear from the warned storm in Mahoning County. The Weather Service has indeed discontinued the warning for eastern Mahoning County. No longer in a warning in any of Mahoning County. It's all over into Lawrence County right now. It's a real mess. I mean, heavy rain and big hailstones. You know, we're looking at least 1.5 inches in diameter hail right now around North Beaver. All of this mess right through here. This is all heavy rain with hailstones falling out of this. And this is not, just the little stuff that is more of an intriguing thing. This is the kind of stuff that can dent things, especially if it's wind-driven. Now, we haven't seen a lot of strong winds, but it's the kind of thing that can definitely be problematic when you get balls of ice that are up to 1 inch or so, 1.5 inches, even 2 inches in diameter. No lightning and thunder with this activity that's trying to go upstream along 62, closer to Canton. So we'll see if those storms run out of pep a little bit as they continue to try to grow. And once again, this is our flash flood warning now that encompasses southern Mercer County and central and northern parts of Lawrence County as well. This has been where storms have, oftentimes we talk about training storms that want to go over the same areas again and again and again. This has been our most problematic area, that is for sure. Some of the radar estimated rainfall totals in this warned area, we're getting up to a couple or a few inches. Some of this is probably contaminated a little bit by the radar algorithm mistaking rain for hail, but outside of that, it's still a lot of rain. It's too much rain in an area that's already seen quite a bit of rain, of course, over the last couple of weeks. So again, take this seriously around Newcastle. We're in for another round of big hailstones coming in. Our hail algorithm is always a few minutes behind, so this hail that is showing back towards Bessemer, that was about 5 minutes or so ago. The hail at this point, the core of it is more over into here, kind of the south and western edges of the Newcastle area, and just east of Bessemer, around North Beaver. This is northeast of SNPJ. Ugly, ugly stuff. And just to reiterate, who's in the clear for this evening from severe weather? Anyone north of Interstate 80, I think you're in the clear for the evening. We're not quite in the clear once you get down into kind of our central and southern viewing area, because I'm going to keep an eye on what's going on out here with these growing showers closer to Alliance and Canton along 62. But north of 80, you're in the clear. If you're watching from Columbiana County, you haven't seen much so far today. Everything's been to your north and east. Now we're going to keep an eye on this activity out here, maybe eventually bringing some interest to Columbiana County, but will it be severe or even strong? That remains to be seen for sure. We'll take a look at our network of local rain gauges to see if any of them have picked up on some lofty totals today. So we'll take a look at this. This looks like a bogey. That's a bad reading over towards Slippery Rock. No doubt there's been more than 0.27 over there. So our rain gauge network, we don't have a lot of rain gauges over in this fairly rural area of Lawrence County and southern Mercer County. And the one we do have, that looks like a bad reading to me. But again, we're saying rain. What rain? In much of our area down towards Route 30. It's been a welcomed miss for a lot of those areas, that, especially southern Columbiana County. That's actually been in our viewing area. Southern Columbiana County is the spot that's had the most rain, going back 2 to 3 weeks. All of our areas had too much rain, but especially southern Columbiana County. There's been a few rain gauges down there closing in on 8-9 inches worth of rain, going back to about March the 23rd. All right, so our severe thunderstorm warning for that hail-producing storm, that gargantuan storm with hail, runs until 9 p.m., top of the hour, for another 20 minutes or so. This includes the greater Newcastle area. It looks like the hail core is slipping to the south side of Newcastle. And so the north side of Newcastle not doing quite as badly, but around Shenango, this is all big hail right through here. All this white stuff. Yeah, there's some heavy rain in there, but that's the radar beam hitting big objects. When the radar beam goes out, the way radar works is that beam hits stuff and then returns a color to signify how big the stuff it's hitting is. Raindrops don't show up as brightly as hailstones usually, unless the rain is really, really heavy and the radar beam is hitting a lot of big, fat raindrops. When it's hitting those big hailstones that are 1 inch to 2 inches in diameter, it returns these pinks and purples and whites, especially when we see the white color on the radar. We never like to see that. That's indicative of, at least 1.5 inches in diameter hail, the kind of hail that can be really, really problematic. So we got another 20 minutes to kind of babysit this as it moves through Lawrence County, and beyond that, it's an open question if we're going to have anything of note for the rest of the evening. My gut says probably not, but I don't want to close the book just yet on some of the activity that's trying to get going back here. It doesn't look like much, and I don't think odds favor it being much of a player, but I don't want to rule it out just yet. This is going to be our main player for another 20 minutes, and once this clears Lawrence County, our TV viewing area will be in better shape overall. And again, not to repeat myself too much, but if you're north of Interstate 80, tuck yourself in for the night. You're looking good. No more severe weather up there. And even north of 224, in Mahoning County, you're probably in the clear here as well. It's south of 224 that I don't want to give you the all clear just yet. We might be able to do that as we head closer to 9 o'clock. There's our big hail core. And again, keeping in mind that this is 5 or so minutes behind, this hail core now currently as we speak is more like over here towards Shenango. Hail diameters here of at least 1 inch and maybe even close to 2 inches in some spots. I think there could be 2 inch in diameter hail on the south side of Newcastle right now. Not going to be surprised at all. Pretty impressive for our part of the country at this time of the day, especially. Pretty impressive stuff. Getting some pictures of from the hail from Nick on Facebook, showing basically an accumulation of hail. When hail comes down hard enough, it's going to melt when it's this warm, but at first it looks like some snow on the ground, right? It's big enough, and enough of it came down, the volume of hail came down, that it covered the ground in some spots. And thanks to Nick on Facebook for sending me that picture. That can happen. Now, it doesn't last very long in the ground. When it's in the 60s and 70s, it's going to melt pretty fast. It's not like snow that sticks around, but it can give the appearance of snow accumulation, but it's hail accumulation instead. This was a couple of hours ago at this point, but the Weather Service relaying Bristolville hail in Trumbull County from a couple of hours ago up to 1.5 inches in diameter. Lots of pictures sent to us via email as well. Don't forget, you can always send us weather-related pictures. The email address, weatherpics, P-I-C-S, at WFMJ.com. You can also submit them directly on the Storm Tracker 21 app. You can snap the picture with your phone, open up the Storm Tracker 21 app, and just send it to us that way. That's a very easy way of doing it. But if you're a little more old-fashioned, like me, and prefer just old-school email, you can do it that way as well. Weatherpics, P-I-C-S, at WFMJ.com. Weather Service put a considerable tag on this severe thunderstorm warning. That's something we saw earlier on with some of the storms in the 5 o'clock hour. They can put these tags on the warnings. There's kind of a base severe thunderstorm or tornado warning or flash flood warning, and then they can go a couple levels higher. They can throw tags on these to indicate, hey, this is more than just a run-of-the-mill severe thunderstorm. A considerable tag is a level above kind of the base severe thunderstorm warning. The tag above that, destructive, is really serious. We saw one of those, or a couple of those last summer, I believe it was in August, because of wind. That was not because of hail, but that was a wind-producing storm. So whenever a severe thunderstorm is producing winds that are basically equivalent to a low-end tornado, they will put tags like that on severe thunderstorm warnings for the wind component. Thankfully today, the wind component to our storms has largely taken a little bit of backseat to the hail component. With some exceptions, but as a general rule, the hail has been a bigger deal. And here's where the hail core is right now, right around Shenango, crossing 65, crossing the 422 corridor, and this is heading east at about 60 miles per hour. This is the hail core that rolled through Mahoning County earlier, prompted the new severe thunderstorm warning in Lawrence County, and this warning runs for another 15 minutes until the top of the hour. Our showers continue to grow a little bit, but not real rapidly off to the west. So that's what we're going to keep on babysitting. No evidence that that's going to turn into anything all that noteworthy, but it's still in an environment that's untouched from our storms earlier on. This is all pretty fertile ground. Areas in which it did not rain earlier. We don't have rain-cooled air in that vicinity. Now we are past sunset this evening. But despite it being past sunset for almost 45 minutes now, storms are still, taking advantage of some of the environment, what's going on in the atmosphere, sunset or not. So we can't rule out that these storms still try to get a little bit feisty as they form. All right, so we're going to babysit our Lawrence County storm for a few more minutes here. We're still seeing severe hail now south of Newcastle and heading towards Portersville, over towards the Butler County line. This will clear Lawrence County coming up in about 7 or 8 minutes, probably at the most, certainly by the top of the hour. And then there's no more severe weather currently happening in our television viewing area. Keeping an eye on some of this activity that's trying to grow closer to Route 62 from Alliance down to Canton, but that is not severe. The Lawrence County storm is our only severe cell still left in our viewing area, and it'll be out of here by the top of the hour. The power outage numbers in Trumbull County, some good news here, they're down to 1,000. They were up as high as 6,000 or so earlier on this evening. Now they're down to about 1,000. But still 1,000 people without power in Trumbull County from storms that rolled through 3 to 4 hours ago. That's pretty impressive and indicative that the wind was an issue for a time in Trumbull County. Case in point, we did have a 68-mile-per-hour gust at the Youngstown Warren Airport at about 5:30 on this Sunday evening. This is kind of the last hurrah as far as any severe weather threats in this very busy pattern that we've been in over the last couple or few weeks. We've had a couple of misses. We've had severe weather threats that didn't materialize into much other than heavy rain over the last couple of weeks. We haven't had too many episodes of hail and damaging winds, just too much rain, but today's risk did verify, that is for sure. We've seen severe hail. We've seen instances here and there of severe wind, even though the hail has been, again, the more problematic part of our severe weather risk today. And of course, the rain is still an issue today. Case in point, we have flash flood warnings out in parts of western PA still this evening. Here's a look at where those flash flood warnings are. Covering southern Mercer and central and northern Lawrence counties. That's where storms have been training. We've had the hail. We've had too much rain in that corridor over the last handful of hours. All right, our storm will be exiting Mercer County here, or Lawrence County, I should say, in a couple of minutes. I'm going to, keep babysitting some of this activity, but we're going to stop the live stream for now. We'll hop back on if need be. If any of this activity that's trying to pop right now decides to go severe, we'll pop back on the live stream, and we'll have an update tonight on 21 News at 11. Thank you as always for watching, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Eric Wilhelm in for Chris Serinelli on this Sunday evening. I'll see you this evening on 21 News at 11, and as usual at 6 and 11 on 21 News all week long.